everybody, and yay, look what I got. I just received, the mailman was here like maybe 45 minutes ago, and all this time, because I rushed to open my boxes, my 2 boxes were delivered that come directly from the Czech Republic. The company is called Craftica, and they do 2 different boxes. This one is called Czech Beads Exclusive, and this month the title is Let It Snow. The other box that they put together is called Bohem Style, and it's more of a DIY jewelry kit with the supplies and everything that you need for 2 full pieces of jewelry. And this one is usually more themed, and it does have a theme this month, but it is amazing. The box was packed with 26 items, and it was mixes of really gorgeous Czech glass. I'm going to go through the unboxing really quickly because as I was putting everything out on my mat to share it with you, I already designed 4 projects, well, really kind of more than that, because there's just so many delicious, like this is a sampler this month of a lot of wonderful winter crafts. And if you have a lot of gifts to make, or if you have a craft fair that you make things for at this time of year, you're going to really love my projects because they come together really quickly. They're uncomplicated, but they're wonderful, and you can make a lot of them really quickly. So this is the little ingredient list, 26 items. The first one is a DIY Christmas tree paper ornament kit. So if you are a paper crafter, then we're getting a little bit of paper crafting supplies in this month's box. And I am a paper crafter, so this is intriguing. Look at all these pretty wintry papers, and it comes with some die-cut snowflakes and the little frame. There's the snowflakes, and here's all the papers. And as I said, this month's box is just full of like wintry crafts. I'm going to set that aside. And the next thing we had was a Czech glass 8mm teardrop mix. I'm going to be using those in one of my projects. And then I absolutely adored this mix. It's matte rounds. They're Czech glass 6mm, and they're like frosted and matte and just really opaque. And I just love them. And then we got some of the Czech glass butterflies in 2 different colorways. And then I love these. One of mine is missing because I've already designed a project with these gorgeous little star covered barrel beads. They're milky white, opaque, matte with, they're embossed, like the stars are not flat on the top. They are carved into the glass, if you will, and they're gilded. So I love those. And we got these pine cone beads in 2 colors. There was this blue that's silver washed, and then this white that's silver washed. And one of mine is missing because that is also going into a project. We're going to make something with those right away. And then there was a pair of these table cut crosses, and they have like an AB, like a flash inside. What a beautiful little piece of glass. And then there was a gorgeous Czech glass mix. It's matte, but it's rainbow fire polish. And these are my favorite little Czech glass 3mm rounds. And it's kind of a muted, soft autumnal mix. And then the cotton candy 4mm Czech glass faceted round mix is there. And then these gorgeous 2-hole beads. These are wonderful. They're icicle mix is the name of them, and it's a honeycomb shape, and they are 2-hole beads, and there were frosted ones, blue ones, crystal with AB, and those are going into one of my projects. And then there is Czech glass pearls in this month's box, and it is a mix. And they are just gorgeous. A few of mine are missing, quite a few of mine are missing, because I designed projects with them. These have such a nice weight to them, and I just love the colors, and like it is a beautiful mix. This one even has a little bit of a, almost like a dappling of green. So the crazy to get those. And then this is a mix of green, blue, and there's some other colors in here too, of the faceted Czech glass fire polish rounds. And I've taken a couple of mine out of here because they, as you guess, they went into a project. You know, if you can't find something in this box that inspires your creativity, then I don't know what will, because like as I was just like laying things out on my mat, I started thinking, ooh, I can do this, ooh, I can do that. And you know, here I am with this little mix is amazing. This is a Silver Rain spotted bicone, but they're fire polished bicones. And Czech glass fire polish, and it's a mix of 4 and 6 millimeter. So because they are fire polished, they just have this a little bit of softness to the lines on them, to the angles on the bicone, but they are just absolutely gorgeous. I love to do a little bit of needle and thread work, so those kinds of bicones are an absolute dream. And up next is another mix, but this is a mix of cube beads. They'll be 4 millimeter and then 7 millimeter. And there is matte, there is crystal, there's matte silver, some have an AB, there's some hematite colored ones in here, some really pretty like wintry blue, icy blue. What a fun, gorgeous mix. So I've stolen a couple of those as well. I'm telling you, like, there's all of these mixes. You can get lost in a good bead mix, but a Czech glass bead mix and all these different ones, wow, wow, wow. And then like there's some really cool different things. There's a wooden pendant in this one, all laser cut, beautiful little snowflake. So with these you can either glue things onto them, wire wrap beads onto them, paint them. Like the sky is the limit with those. That is so fun. And then look at this cool little mix. This is a little mix of acrylic beads, stars and snowflakes, and there's half pearl like cabochons, but they're acrylic, so they're really lightweight. And like, I love this little snowflake, I love this butterfly. There's a really pretty little pink heart with a little silver sparkle in the middle. Just a really fun little acrylic mix, like I said, winter crafting at its best. And then this just made me absolutely smile. There is a snowman kit in this box, so 2 of these large wooden beads and 2 carat paper. These are like paper mache carrot noses for the snowman, and little wooden star beads, and even the little eyes that you need for a snowman. My son is going to go crazy when he sees these. He loves to do crafts with me. He's going to just go crazy when he sees the snowman kit. It's so sweet. And there was also some gold snowflakes in this little kit that are just beautiful. They're like the sequins, but snowflake shaped. Put them back. And then there was a set of stars and snowflake charms, these beautiful silver star and snowflake charms. And one of these, this one, says made just for you. And so, or just for you. So, you know, if you have a little gift or something special to make for somebody, you can add a little extra charm to it. And then there was some waxed cord in this beautiful snowy white color, as well as a snowflake printed red ribbon. So you guys that are not new to my channel, you know that making bookmarkers and book jewelry is one of my favorite things, and also boho beads. And so many of these supplies are what I would use for my bookmarkers and my, my boho beads. So I just love it. I love this ribbon. This is so pretty. And this right here is the perfect length for a little bookmarker. And there was a bracelet making kit in the box this month. So there's these little findings with the teeth on the end. So you could use that for either one of these or the other cord that's in this box. Look at this. This is so gorgeous. It's white, gold, and silver. And look what a gorgeous bracelet that would make. Just a beautiful like textile bracelet. You could put a large jump ring and take any of the charms from the box and make, or even a bead. Any bead, even a butterfly, anything that you want to make like a little sliding charm for this. But these end pieces fit perfectly over the end of this cord. So what I would do, just so that this doesn't come unraveled, is put a little bit of glue and then clamp my cord on, cut my other end, do the same thing, and then you have the split rings here and lobster claw clasp. You have everything you need to make a little textile bracelet. And then there were two different styles of crystal rondelle spacers. These are like the wavy ones, and then these are the ones that have the straight frame. They're just lovely. They add a lot of bling and sparkle. And there were these tiny little filigree bead caps. Aren't they lovely? They're so little. They're so pretty and so useful. Like sometimes you just need that little sparkle of metal when you're stringing, and especially on smaller beads, sometimes they're more difficult to space out. So it's awesome to get those. And then I love these bows. I have a little love affair with bow charms, and I have a separate organizer for them, and I don't have this one. This beautiful silver bow, and it's a connector, so you have a loop top and bottom, but you can snip one loop off if you want to use it as a charm. And then these gorgeous little star connectors as well. Aren't they sweet? And literally you could take any bead from the mix, any of the 4mm beads, even these, and just make a little component out of them and link them with jump rings and have the sweetest little, you know, the seasonal like chain bracelet. Just a fun, fast, easy project. And then this little kit is maybe my favorite thing in the whole box, which might seem silly, but again, those of you that have been on my channel, you know that I love pom-poms and I love playing with them, and I love this color. It's so wonderful. So the kit came with these little cone end caps and eye pins and the little pom-poms, and you can like cut a sharp angle on the eye pin and poke it through the pom-pom and do it that way. But I do that sometimes, but let me show you. I already made up two of them because I opted to use some glue, and I wanted to set these up ahead of time so that I could make these little ice cream cone little pom-pom charms. I have the cone end caps from my stash. I'll show you. Some of you have seen this before. I have this assortment of cone bead caps, and every size, shape. So there were a lot of small ones in this assortment. So I just pulled out a few that were the right size for the pom-poms because I love gold. So I wanted to do some gold ones as well. And I'll show you very quickly what I did. I took even just some scraps of gold wire, like literally these are little scraps. Look how small they are. And I used my one-step looper and put a simple loop in one end. And then I'll just choose one of my little caps, and I'm going to put that inside, put the wire inside. So the simple loop just acts as a stopper. And then I used my one-step looper to get a loop in the top. So I'm putting it in the tool. I'm going to close it gently, and then I'm going to pull my wire so that it's nice and tight against. So I'm getting a nice tight simple loop in there, and then just let the tool make a simple loop for me. Pull that little cap down and just get a nice little loop in there. I'm going to go ahead and do this one and let it be drying because I actually have some gifts to make, and I love these little pom-poms for decorating the top of my jars. So then I just took some E6000 glue and just turn this up this way and fill my cone end cap with a pretty good dollop of my E6000 glue. Get the lid back on there, and then just take one of the pom-poms and just set it in there. Push it down so it gets coated with the glue, and I'll take a little scrap of wire to just clean up anything that came out. Isn't that so sweet? And I'll just set that aside to dry, so when I'm ready for little pom-pom charms, I have them. And like I said, you can also take the head pins and come this way, the eye pins, and cut a really sharp angled cut on them, and that way you can poke through the pom-pom, like just find a little spot and poke through, and then you would have, so you can do it like that. You just have to kind of get through the middle of it. Just kind of have to make yourself find the middle. That's pretty good. And so then you just pull it through, and then you have a little loop here, and when you put your cap on, then you don't need glue if you do it that way. So then you can put your cap on, and then you have a little loop that you can hang something from. So, you know, simple, you can wire wrap, you can use your one-step looper, simple loop in here. So I'll just do the same thing, just get a simple loop. And then you have a little charm that you can hang something from for the, you know, from the bottom. And for me, because it's so petite, I probably would just choose like a little bead, a little sweet little bead, anything, even this little silver cube, and just hang a little dangle from the bottom. So sweet. Okay, let me clean up and pull in my 4 designs that are already done. Did I miss anything? I'm so excited. Like, as I was opening this box, it is just very inspiring. Just what a beautiful Czech glass, very high quality craft and Czech glass sampler this month. Okay, I'm all cleaned up and I'm ready to go for everyday earrings to wear for through the whole season, but really as I see these into the next season. So this is my first one. Look at this little pendulum earring. Isn't it sweet? I just love that opaque white bead, and I really wanted to feature it, and the 2-hole beads are absolutely perfect to kind of corral your wires. So let me show you what goes into this. I have here a little scrap of my 49 strand bead stringing wire. It's out of my scrap bag, but it is the white quartz color of the 49 strand. And I also used some gold Toho seed beads for this, just from my stash. So I'm going to dump some of those out here. And the first thing that I did is thread my little barrel bead on, and then there are, let me move this so you can see, there are 9 seed beads on either side of the barrel bead. So I'm just going to count 9 on each side. Okay, so once I have 9 seed beads strung on to each side of my 49 strand, I'm going to bring in one of the frosted honeycomb 2-hole beads from that mix and just feed my 2 wires right down nice and tight. And then I have 5 seed beads. Let me make sure it is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. Then I have 5 seed beads on either strand above the honeycomb 2-hole bead. Okay, and I'm going to push everything down nice and tight so it looks like that. And then I'm going to take a number 2 crimp tube and feed it onto one strand. And then I'm going to take this other strand and feed it through the crimp tube in the opposite direction. So get my, when you work with shorter like scraps, there's it's hard for me to get my fingers out of the way to show you what I'm doing, but this is a pretty common technique. So one wire coming through each side, and I'm just going to get it nice and even and pull. And just pull everything nice and tight. Really important that everything is nice and tight. And then I'm going to use my magical crimping plier and get in here carefully and fit the number 2 crimp tube in the middle of the divot without crushing my seed beads. So I just felt it go in, but I need to give this a really nice tight pull before I close down to make sure that I don't have any unwanted space. Close down on my tool, and I've made a little square with 4 pinched corners, and then however you have to get in there in the opposite direction, that works. And in the middle, close down, and then just keep that spot in the tool and rotate your work, opening and closing, and you take it away. You've made a little bead that really matches the 11-0 seed beads. And then I'm going to come in here and snip as close as I can get it. And now I have this little stardust ball post earring, and I just thought the little stardust went really well with the stars on the barrel bead. And I decided to attach with a jump ring just for a little extra dangle, and a jump ring that will go over that crimped bead. And then I'm going to attach it to my post earring and put the back on, and that first pair of earrings is done. Like I said, simple everyday earrings, not too complicated to make. And if you have gifts or a craft fair and you need to make a lot of product, these kinds of projects are great for that. But they're also lovely when you have such high quality Czech glass. You know, it's so easy to do beautiful jewelry and with not too many steps. So my first pair is done, and I couldn't love them anymore. I think those are absolutely amazing. So my next two earrings are really the same technique and just changed up the beads. And I just absolutely love these. For me, this is an everyday earring, and these are completely uncomplicated. So easy to make. They are all in one, so you don't have to have an ear wire, and it's literally done on a head pin. It is a head pin earring. And like I said, when you have beads that are this gorgeous, look at that purple Czech glass pearl. So I took a 2.5 inch ball head pin, and this little square spacer bead is from this set. I'll pull it in and show you. I just got this maybe a month ago, and it has some of the coolest beads. There's a little knot in there. There's these little like tubular ones. These are barrel beads, and I love these squares. There's some daisy spacers, some little flat spacers. This is like the best little spacer mix that I've found in a long time. So that's what that little square is from. And then those really opaque, saturated, matte beads from the mix, I picked out this sky blue, and this is from the Candy Faceted Round mix. And I just took a little crystal rondelle spacer from my stash because I wanted to work in gold. The box is really silver and gold, but gold is my favorite, and these are my everyday earrings. So I'm going to take my pliers and look at the front of my earring, and from the front of my earring I'm going to bend this wire toward me. And before I go any further, I just want to make sure that the bend is keeping that top bead on, and it is. That's the purpose of it. And then I'm going to use my 6-step veil making plier, and I'm using this step here. I'm not sure what millimeter this is. I think it's 6 millimeter, but you can really use any step that you want. If you're going to use one of the larger steps, you need to have a longer length of wire. So I just made these more petite because that's my stack of beads. And then I line everything up, just making sure that this is really straight, as if I'm looking at the front of my earring. And then I'm just going to bend this over the back and just bring it around just like that. And then I take my flat nose pliers, and since this is a very petite little ear hook, I'm just going to go put the wire in about halfway and just kick it out a little bit. And so when I say uncomplicated and fast, you know, that's it. The earring is done. So like I said, if you have a lot of gifts to make, or if you need to sit and if you need, 20, 30 pairs of earrings for a craft fair, this is 3 minutes. If I wasn't talking and explaining, I would already have the other pair done too. But look how gorgeous they are. Just, it's not indicative of how wonderful they are. These sit in your piercings beautifully. They're easy in and out. I love this style of earring. So this one is the same, but I took a crystal rondelle spacer from my stash that had a pink edge and a little flat disc just to put a little separation. And these were the mauve like Czech glass faceted rounds from the 6 millimeter mix, and I had 2 of these fuchsia like bright raspberry pink pearls. I had 2 of them in my pearl mix, and again one of those little opaque really frosted beads. And look at that. I mean, for me, that is just a gorgeous everyday earring. So I've already just stacked those beads onto that 2.5 inch ball head pin. And just like that, and just played with my stack. I went kind of from the smallest bead to the fattest, so that the weight is on the bottom. And it is exactly the same thing. I'm going to come to the top of my stack, bend this wire toward me, and I just want to check and make sure that it's keeping my top bead on, and it is. And I use the same step for this one. So if your wire is, you know, a little bit, if your head pin wire is a little bit crooked, you know, you have an easier time straightening it now than when you've curved it into an ear wire. So same thing, I'm just going to wrap it around to the earring. And let's see what I did on this one. Because I had a little bit more wire on this one, I put my flat nose plier in right at the end and just line that up. Whoops, my finger slipped. That's too much. My hand slipped when I went to kick it out, but I just want to like kick that out just a little bit. And that earring is done, like fast and fabulous. I mean, and again, everyday earrings. For me, that's just an everyday earring. I love those. I don't have to fuss with an earring back or, you know, anything. Okay, my next pair, my last pair, my fourth pair is this little guy. The ear wire part is done the same, but I took the silver washed pine cone bead, one of my cube beads, and one of those beautiful little teardrop beads that's half blue and half silver. So this one is an all-in-one ear wire, but it's dangly and it's super simple. So I'll start with the acorn top part of the earring. I'm just going to make sure that that is closed really well. Let me look at my orientation on my first one so I do my loops the same. Okay, so this one I did it facing forward like that, and same exact thing. I'm going to come right here and bend my wire forward just to make sure that bead is secure and not coming off. So I'm going to make sure that I'm looking directly at the front of my earring and that this loop before I make my bend. Let me just show you. Get my plier in here. Just make sure that I'm looking at, you know, everything lined up. And then I'm going to, I had it the wrong direction. And then I'm just going to bend this over to the back. And so like using the eye pins or the head pins for your ear wires, you don't have to measure anything, you don't have to cut anything, and you don't really even have to smooth out the end of the wire because you know, it's a head pin. I mean, you can if you want to, but it's really not necessary. And then I took another eye pin and just popped on one of those little cube beads. And again, I grabbed my one-step looper. I'm using my 1.5 millimeter for everything. And I'm just going to get another simple loop in this little cube bead and open that and attach it right to my other simple loop. If you wanted to turn these into longer shoulder dusters, you could attach each of these with a jump ring, and that would add some length and, you know, maybe get it down to the shoulder. And then I'm going to take one of those little teardrop beads This is a little scrap of 26 gauge wire, so I'm just going to pop that in the middle of the teardrop and just bring it up. I use my pliers to get the two wires to hug the top of the teardrop. So I want it so that there's a little space like at the tip of the teardrop. And then I'm just going to twist this wire, and I like to do that with my nylon jaw pliers. So I'm just going to grab a hold of my two wires with my nylon jaw pliers and Again, just make sure I'm maintaining that space above the teardrop, and I'm just going to twist. And so what I do when I twist to get it nice and even is light pressure here, and I'm slightly pulling as I twist. And you get like a really tight, even, perfect twist, and it's not too hard on your hands. That is way more than I will need because I'm going to turn this twisted wire into a simple loop. So I'm going to I put the silver side facing forward, so that's going to be my front, and I'm going to come right here and put a bend in this wire, and then I'm going to use my round nose pliers, get a hold of it, and bring the wire around the round nose pliers, rotate the pliers. This is exactly the way that I start when I'm going to wrap a loop. It's a simple, easy way to get a perfect simple loop without guessing. Now from here, if you wanted to get a hold of this and wrap, you could. It's the same start, but I'm going to come inside with my cutters and snip those wires where the two meet. So I have like a perfect, really easy, simple loop, and you can choose what size your simple loop is based on where you place your round nose pliers. And then I'm just going to look at this so that just like that, so that my silver is on the front. And even though this is twisted wire, I'm just going to treat it like a normal simple loop, close it, work hard knit a little bit, and that earring is done. So 4 super fun, super fast, totally wearable, gorgeous, everyday earrings. I mean, I think these are just so elegant. When you get a Czech glass sampler that's so prolific and has so many different items, look at the fun you can have. And so I am working on some gifts of my own, some of my little bead jars that I like to do. I'll reach behind me. These are a couple of my little bead jars. I like to give these as gifts. And I put different things on the top. I stack my bead caps, choose a pretty crystal or something to decorate the top of my jars. And when I saw these, I was like, that is perfect to add to the top of my jars. And these tall ones make great needle cases if you have beading friends to do gifts for. They're also great for moms and grandmoms who are saving baby teeth. Like, you can use those little jars, you can put mints in them. So I was so thrilled to get a few of these little pom-poms, and they're all ready and set up for my gift making. I thank you so much for watching. Check the description box, tap more under the video, and that will open my description box. And I always list all my favorite tools, including my new ones that were gifted to me from Meredith Roddy at Beadalon, the ones with the nylon inner jaw. And the links for the Craftica company will be there. I will link this box, the Czech Beads exclusive, and I'll be back in another video to do their DIY jewelry box called Bohem Style. So I'll also link that box here as well. And anything that I brought in from my own stash is always also listed there for you. And I thank you guys so much for choosing my video today. Please give me a thumbs up and or a hype if you see that feature. And I will see you in the next video. Ciao, everybody.